KLAF News Time. It is 3:36, and joining us now is attorney Jimmy Ardoin with the Ardoin Law. He's a criminal defense lawyer who's faced the Department of Justice in the past. Today, the civil trial related to the Deepwater Horizon oil spill started in New Orleans. Jimmy, can you tell us a little bit about how this will work out?
Well, there's no jury in this case. It's all being done before the judge, and today are opening statements, and there's, as I understand it, there are a ton of lawyers representing all the states, the federal government, and BP. So they'll finish that portion of it today, and then tomorrow will likely be the first witnesses to come and testify on the stand.
I'll play ignorant. Why a federal judge and not, say, a jury?
Well, there's always a lot of strategy decisions into why one or both sides would want or not want a jury. Oftentimes when you're dealing with complicated questions of law, the lawyers will sometimes rather take that to a judge because he understands the questions that are being asked or the issues that need to be decided better than what most lawyers would say than a juror can. Also, it saves cost because in this case, you are basically taking out a day or two of jury selection, so you're not paying lawyers for sitting around picking a jury for 2 or 3 days. As I would expect in this case, jury selection would probably be pretty tough in New Orleans, given the fact that so many people knew about this, likely suffered losses from it. It'd probably be very hard to seat a jury that could be very fair. And so the idea that a judge could possibly be more fair in deciding these issues is probably the reason why both sides decided that it could go that way, because, again, it could be really tough given all the media exposure that happened both at a New Orleans level and at a national level involving this case. I would imagine it'd be very hard to get a fair panel that could set aside all of their differences or their biases or their opinions and beliefs about BP and render a fair verdict in this case.
Makes some sense. Talking to lawyer Jimmy Ardoin, Department of Justice, states are involved. How many states, and why is the Department of Justice into this whole thing?
Well, the Department of Justice is in it because there's a Clean Water Act violation
Got it.
that they have brought civilly against BP. The states that are involved are Alabama, Florida, Louisiana, Mississippi, and Texas, all their attorneys generals that are joining in this thing. But the reason the DOJ is involved is because there's a federal Clean Water Act law that is in play.
I'm going to ask a loaded question. How long do you think this could go on?
Oh, asking a lawyer how long a case can go on, and judges do it every day. That's the funny thing. How long do you expect your case to last, counselor? Well, Judge, we have no idea. A lot of it depends on the judge in this case, frankly, and I haven't seen any of the orders. Judges can set out what they call timing orders, and so judges can move the case along fairly quick. And it's very common in federal court, not as often in state court, but in federal court, judges will routinely give out timing orders and say, and you saw it in the Apple case, in the big Apple Samsung battle that just recently happened out in California. The judge there was very specific about, each side is getting this amount, and if you go over, I'm going to hold you in contempt. And so federal judges do that a lot more. They will set out timing orders, and if you don't adhere to it, you're in trouble. So I think this case could take a little while, but not knowing what the timing orders are from the court, if any. I would expect 2 to 3 weeks, depending on the number of witnesses. It may be more, though.
Now, BP has already admitted, we messed up, and they've taken out a PR campaign and done commercials. I see them from time to time, their PSA announcements and stuff. Did this work to their advantage, disadvantage? How does this play into the whole thing?
Well, at the end of the day, they're going to be deciding whether or not they were grossly negligent in this case. That's where the biggest penalty in this whole thing is going to come, is whether or not the evidence shows that BP was grossly negligent. And I think that's why they haven't been able to reach a settlement at this point, is because BP has been saying, we screwed up, but we don't think we screwed up that bad, and that's what gross negligence is. It's basically saying you really screwed it up, and you're going to be hit with a bunch of damages. And I think that that's the crux of this case, that you're fighting over whether or not they were grossly negligent. So you're really fighting on the fines.
Makes sense. Jimmy Ardoin, I thank you for joining us. And once this case gets going, I'd like to have you back on and kind of break it down a little bit.
Sure, absolutely. That sounds great.
And still ahead on 570 KLAF. Traffic and weather next. An update from the Wall Street Journal comes your way at 3:50, and the latest in sports at 3:53. KLAF News and Information Time. Thanks for joining us. 3:41.